Chapter 42, Dead Calm. Suddenly there was a sound of huge wings flapping. An owl shot through the night air. Whoosh! Stella could feel herself being grabbed as Wagner snatched her from her fall. Aunt Alberta hit the snow with a gigantic thud. Wagner set the girl down gently before hopping over to his mistress. Stella followed close behind. They needed to check if this evil woman really was dead. Alberta's body had fallen onto a large pile of cleared snow. It lay there perfectly still. There wasn't even the sound of a gurgle or the slightest twitch. All was silent, dead, calm. Stella breathed a sigh of relief, and then, just as she was about to turn away, she saw the woman's little finger move, then her hand, then her arm. Dazed and confused, Alberta pushed herself up to her feet. The snow stayed stuck to her. She looked like the abominable snowman, a great big white furry ape that lives in the Himalayan mountains of Nepal. Alberta stood there, wobbling for a moment before she wiped her eyes clear of snow. She hadn't been injured at all. The huge pile of snow had broken her fall. "Now, where were we?" said Alberta with a smile. "Oh, yes, I was just about to bump you off." As the girl made a run for it across the lawn, Wagner shot off into the sky. As he circled in the air, he started squawking wildly. Squawk, squawk, squawk. It was a sound the girl had never heard the owl make before. Not far off in the trees surrounding Saxby Hall, a chorus of hoots could be heard. The birds were calling back to Wagner. The branches of the trees rustled as hundreds of owls took to the sky. For Stella, there was no time to think about what was happening. She had to run. But where to? The girl stumbled in the snow. Her aunt caught up with her and pulled a flail from her inside pocket and swung it round her head. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Alberta must have snatched it from the suit of armour in the hall. The flail was a particularly nasty weapon. It had a long handle with a chain at the top and a deadly spiked metal ball at the end. It could kill a man with one strike, and this particular flail hadn't been used as a weapon for hundreds of years, until now. "Please, Alberta, I'm begging you," pleaded Stella. Fop, fop, fop. Still the woman swung the flail faster and faster around her head. "I hope your pathetic little life is flashing before your eyes, child, because this is the end. E-N-E-D. End." And with that, Alberta swung the flail up into the air. "No!" screamed Stella. But before she could rain it down on Stella, hundreds of owls whooshed down from above. Zoom! From the tiniest owlet to the largest great grey owl. Together they seized the woman in their claws and with one motion carried her off into the sky. "Ah!" she cried as the flail dropped out of her hand and fell onto the snowy lawn. Thud. From the roof, Wagner was squawking loudly, no doubt calling out orders to his fellow owls. All Stella could do was watch in amazement. Aunt Alberta kicked and screamed as a squadron of owls carried her off high into the night sky. The snow fell off her as they took her up, 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 way above the clouds. Soon the large lady was little more than a tiny dot. Stella didn't dare blink. She needed to know that this really was the end of the story. "Squawk!" Wagner called out a deafening loud command to his feathered friends up in the air. At once they all let go of the wicked woman with their claws. "Ah!" screamed Alberta as she tumbled down, down, down through the sky. From far off in the distant field there was a deafening thud as her body hit the ground. Stella wobbled as the earth shook a little. At last her awful auntie was no more. The little girl sighed with relief before calling the brave owl over. "Wagner." The bird hopped back to where the girl was standing. "Thank you," she said, and wrapped her arms around him. Slowly but surely he lengthened his wings and wrapped them around her too. "You saved my life," whispered the girl. The great bird twit-twooed softly in reply. Stella didn't know what the owl meant exactly, but somehow she understood. "Wagner, I still need your help." The bird tilted his head to one side. He was listening. The girl used gestures to help explain herself better. "I need you to fly me over to the lake." Stella pointed to it. "We need to find Soot. I mean my uncle." The girl climbed on the bird's back and held tight to the feather tufts on the top of his head. with the added weight Wagner needed to make a run-up so that he could take off. But take off he did. To Stella, this was thrilling. It felt like she was piloting an aeroplane. It was the most splendid sensation, flying, the stars above her, the wind in her hair, as the owl glided high over the lake. She looked down to see if there was any sign of the ghost. The floating shards of ice glistened under the light of the moon. Now it all looked so calm, so still, with a little trace of drama that had unfolded in the ice earlier that day. First Stella spotted the shadowy shape of the Rolls-Royce, which had sunk into the depths below, and then the girl caught a glimpse of the tiny figure far under the ice at the bottom of the lake, wrapped in frozen reeds. There, she pointed. Wagner followed her hand down, and they landed on the largest piece of ice they could find. He's at the bottom, said Stella, peering over at the edge of the ice into the freezing depths below. The girl wasn't sure if the ghost could die again, but as she watched him lying motionless with no expression on his face, she feared the worst. And then she heard a splash as Wagner dived in. Stella watched in amazement as the brave owl swam down to fetch the boy. Wagner bit into shirt with his bill and powered back up to the surface. The girl knelt down and hauled the ghost onto the ice before helping the owl up too. Wagner shook himself dry as Stella bent down the poor lifeless figure. Uncle Herbert, she whispered. Uncle Herbert. The ghost spat some water out, which hit the girl right on the nose. Who on earth is Uncle Herbert? He asked. You're alive, she exclaimed. Nah, I'm dead, came the reply. The ghost looked at the girl as if she was daft. Oh, yes, replied the girl. And who's this Uncle Herbert? It's you. In fact, to give you your full title, Lord Herbert Saxby of Saxby Hall. I'll leave it, the ghost shook his head. Have you been at the sherry, milady?